I want to thank the governor, the mayor, the county executive, all the people gathered here as part of Team Baltimore and Team Maryland. And the federal government is with them as a partner. The Coast Guard, as we speak, is also part of this mission. Coast Guard cutters, Coast Guard aviation assets. I spoke twice today with Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg has pledged that they will do everything they can to very quickly release emergency response funds for this important project. The National Highway Transportation Administration administrator is on his way to Baltimore if he's not here already. They will be releasing those early funds once all the parties are fully engaged.
Out of all the people who are the transportation secretary right now. Yeah. Welcome back to the program. Dana Loesch here with you. That is the Senator Chris Van Hollen there on the Francis Scott Key Bridge accident. They're going to release emergency response funds. This is, now you might be thinking, if you're sitting in Kansas, maybe you're in traffic, maybe you're a truck, well, if you're a truck driver at all, you know. But maybe you're just, you're listening while you're running around doing your errands, all that good stuff, right? One of the things that you need to realize, and we were talking about this on break, and again, welcome back, Dana Loesch with you, bottom of this first hour. This is the third largest port out for a number of things. I mean, this is basically how D.C., Maryland, they all get their Amazon stuff here.
It might be the number 2 port. Number 3 for coal to Europe.
Number 3 for coal to Europe.
But number two I think, overall.
In the world. Because as Steve was explaining, and Steve is Captain Crab Cakes out there, he's the born and raised, Maryland, Virginia, that's all. They're a different type of people, man. They got the waterways, they got everything out there. But the water in and around D.C. is too shallow for boats of that type, is what Steve was saying. But Steve, you were also saying too, this is like a major Amazon thoroughfare. I mean, not just Amazon, but I mentioned earlier, the automobile stuff, but this is like a big area of distribution.
Yeah, so like that. If you go up the Chesapeake Bay, the only way to get into the entire Baltimore, which feeds D.C. and a lot of Delaware, is under that bridge. And then once you get under that bridge, there's 2 more tunnels you're going over, even to get into the inner harbor. So there's the McHenry Tunnel and the Harbor Tunnel, but you don't even get there unless you go under that bridge. So nothing can be fed into this entire Mid-Atlantic region right now.
Now, Lorraine shares that this bridge, this port of Baltimore, it's the top handler of imports and exports of cars and light trucks. But it's 9th for both tonnage and dollar value of foreign cargo passing through. That's 9th amongst all U.S. harbors. And they handled 52.3 million tons of international cargo. That's over $80 billion according to their archives. A lot of jobs, direct jobs, indirect jobs. But this is closer to the Midwest than any East Coast port. Yeah, they said it's within an overnight's drive distance. We actually had one person, it's a female trucker, Shelley, who had reached out and said that this was the quickest port. Yeah, which makes sense because in terms of drive, because this is, according to this Axios piece, Lorraine dropped, it's within an overnight's drive distance from 1/3 of the country's population. So yeah, that's huge. And it stretches for a little over 1.5 miles. So obviously, immediately you're going to see traffic issues, but you have FedEx, BMW, Amazon, all kinds of distribution warehouses, an industrial park, a lot of the moving of goods between West Coast ports. So this now could create a potential supply chain issue depending on how quickly all of this stuff is, how they figure out a way to get around this. That's what ultimately we could end up seeing. That's huge. So yeah, not only the traffic, but also, just distribution of a lot of different things, and especially since, if it's a day, that's a really quick drive to get to most of the country's population. So that would be the quickest thing to get out to the Midwest.
Is there any reason to believe that the company behind the ship should be held responsible? And then also,
that happened. We're going to pay for it to get the bridge rebuilt and open. What did you?
So Biden says that they're going to pay for the bridge in total? We're going to pay.
Yeah.
Who's we're?
That's us, taxpayers.
Now, I don't want to seem unfeeling because there's search and rescue operations right now in the river, and it's very cold there. And, there's, people are, I want to make sure everybody's safe and all of that, all of that stuff. So, but I do have to say, wouldn't that be, Kane, the responsibility of the vessel?
Yeah, it appears.
It is a 948-foot long ship called the Dolly, operated by a Singaporean company called Synergy. And it's being reported that the doomed cargo ship was being piloted by a local crew who were trained to avoid obstacles in the Baltimore port. And it lost control and propulsion, right? I mean, it's on video. Juan's been showing some of it on the simulcast, and you can see the ship hit the... Dang. That's terrifying. Terrifying. And it was chartered by the Danish shipping company Maersk. And the only reason I know the Maersk company is because of that one Tom Hanks movie, right? Where it was the guy who's like, I'm the captain now. And they were right off the Horn of Africa, and that's where all the Somali pirates are. And it was that guy yeah. So anyway, that's the only reason why I know the Maersk entity. But the ship had undergone 27 inspections since 2015. It had 2 deficiencies and this was the electronic quality shipping. Yeah, the electronic quality shipping information system. We all know this. We are Mariner Twitter, which, by the way, can I just sidebar real quick for a hot second? Whenever big things happen in the news, there's always a group of people that have waited their entire lives to be called up from the minor leagues into the big leagues to offer their expertise on social media. When it was Harambe, that gorilla, I mean, all of a sudden the experts on wildlife that emerged on social media were insufferable. Anytime anything happens. And now you have Mariner Twitter. Usually it's like legal Twitter where people pretend to be attorneys. And I understand taxpayers, you understand what happens with your government, and your expertise should not be degraded simply because you didn't go to an Ivy League university or go to law school, because you can understand basic concepts just the same as everybody. The shipping stuff's a little different, I think, right? Because I know nothing about any of it. I mean, I don't even know what type of bridge that was. There were people who are like, well, that was a whatever type of bridge. I mean, good for you. But now Mariner Twitter has emerged. And it is pretty amazing to watch Mariner Twitter call each other slurs that I cannot repeat on air because someone disagrees with the installation of a nav system from whatever, I don't even understand, or the propulsion or whatever that is. I don't even know what those things are. Some things I don't know, and they're arguing with each other. And you know that they're probably like, midlife professionals, sitting in an important office somewhere or sitting like at a control thing and arguing with each other over this stuff. I don't know. So now it's kind of amazing. They said that the deficiency, going back to this electronic quality shipping information system, there was a June 2023 inspection in San Antonio, Chile, where they found a deficiency in their propulsion and auxiliary machinery. Yeah, the propulsion and auxiliary machinery, Kane. We know those things. Yeah. And apparently this same ship, boat, does it matter what term I use? Because I'm going to hear it from the mariners.
Just say floaty thing.
The floaty thing. I don't want to make light of it because they're searching for missing construction workers, but I'm just trying to best bring you in my own perspective, right? I want to break it down for you. And I know that you don't understand the propulsion machinery of a Dolly container ship either, unless you're Mariner Twitter and you're literally listening right now and you're going to argue with me in a hot second. So there was apparently an incident back in 2016 in the port of Antwerp. They found a deficiency in its structural conditions. The vessel, we'll say vessel. But then they didn't find any deficiencies when it was inspected last fall by the U.S. Coast Guard in New York. So all of the trade has halted out of this port, one of the most important ports in America. And, yeah. And so this is, now we're going to see ultimately, because they're still searching, like I said, for these missing construction workers. And I mean, this whole bridge, I understand that they're doing rescue and recovery. Kane, I'm going to ask an obvious question. Especially when I look at aerial photos of how huge this waterway is. There's no way. I mean, you can't be like, okay, the boat can make it over this. You can't go out there and do that.
I wouldn't risk it now that you have.
I sound like
hundreds
Joe
of-
Biden talking about guns, don't I?
You have hundreds of tons of steel now in that waterway laying across it
Yeah,
under the water
It's pretty
mostly.
deep, though, isn't it?
Maybe. You might have enough water to float a canoe or two above some of the parts. But I'm not thinking a giant
Steve, how big is that waterway? Looks, I mean, it's 9,000 feet
wide.
wide.
Yeah.
This, and the biggest part of the bridge is right in the middle. Can't they kind of go around it? I know that sounds dumb.
This first
Someone out there listening is thinking
Look.
of it, and I just voiced your concerns. So there you go.
There's a search and rescue effort still going on.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, hey, container ship, why don't you just come over here so you have the potential of chopping up human bodies?
Okay, I know. All
They're
right,
not
I
going to
get
do
it.
that yet.
Okay.
Not yet, at least.
I'm just asking because someone out there in Radio Land was thinking it.
I'm sure they were.
Couldn't have been just me. I just was, because it just looks like a big, I don't know, like a big area.
I've driven over this bridge a ton of times.
Yeah,
Like,
it
you
seems
can
huge.
Dang.
It is huge, but there's only one space where there's a lot of regulations and laws. You can only let one of those ships go through that one center point. So they have to take turns
Yeah, I'm sure it's deep.
getting through the highest elevation of that sort of top part.
Wow.
I'm sure it's deepest in the center there. So,
Well, obviously, yeah.
So if they try to go off to the sides, they're probably not going to have enough depth to do it.
Dang. Yeah, that's true. Gosh dang. This is tough. I feel bad for search and recovery in this area because it's cold. You've got the current, and it's not like it's the clearest water. And then you have all the debris on top of it. That is not not an easy job, not at all.